Hi, everyone. This is a wonderful day because we have come up with a wonderful idea, all three of us. I hope you know me. I'm Kalyani. And I hope you know Ankita. With us today is Setulakshmi, Dr. Setulakshmi. She is a long-time associate and a long-time teacher at Valat. She is heading our academics, and it was her idea that we will do a series starting every Tuesday from today, starting today, every Tuesday at 9 on recent research areas. Because a lot of you have cleared NET and you have PhD eligibility with NET or with JRF, etc. And many of you are working on your proposals and trying to find areas for research papers. And for us also, it is a great learning. So this series is going to really help all of us. And today we will talk about digital humanities because recently we were reading about it. I also presented I did a lecture at VIT, the institute at Vellore, and it was really good to read about digital humanities and delve deep into the possibilities that it holds for us for research and for future learning. So that is why we are bringing you this series and this new area, digital humanities. Ankita, welcome to the session.
Thank you.
And yeah, and Setulakshmi, over to you. Please talk to us a little bit about it. Maybe you want me to share the screen.
Good evening, everyone. So let's begin with our new research area series. So, yeah. So what exactly is digital humanities? So it is again an interdisciplinary study, as you might be familiar with this term, digital humanities. And of course, as everybody knows, it is again an interdisciplinary field that merges the critical thinking of the humanities and the methods and tools of the digital world. And in a very simple term, that is it. That is about how it merges the critical thinking of the humanities with the methods and tools of the digital world. Tools include computer science, digital media, and data analysis. Of course, you're familiar with all these terms. So again, in simpler terms, it is about using digital tools to ask new questions, and sometimes to find new answers in fields like literature, history, philosophy, psychology. And for example, instead of reading just one novel at a time, using these digital tools, we could analyze hundreds of novels using text analysis tools to look for patterns, themes, or word usage over time. So that is the definition of digital humanities. So,
Wow, how amazing it is, isn't it, Ankita and Setu?
yes,
Setu, until recently, we were just thinking that digital humanities is all about digitization of text, turning text into digital medium.
yes,
But now it has changed completely. We talked so much about new ways of analyzing text, and there are so many new areas opening up within digital
yes,
humanities. I'm so excited to talk about all this. Computational possibilities within English literature studies is opening up new worlds altogether. It is not just the same old reading the text thing that we are doing anymore. It is so much more, like science, and it's good because it's opening up new possibilities
yes.
for all of us. Shall we go into the next slide? There are more amazing ideas that we have put here. Understanding digital humanities involves a lot of things. As Setulakshmi was saying, it is an interdisciplinary field combining all these areas, humanities, computer science, digital media. It involves digitization. It involves literary analysis, so much. Setu, would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, let's look into some of these features or how we understand digital humanities in the contemporary scenario. So, firstly, I'm sure you're familiar with digitization of text. As ma'am was saying, when we first look into this term, suddenly this feature of digital humanities comes into the picture. That is digitization of text. This involves converting manuscripts, rare books, historical documents, and other print materials into digital formats. Again, all these online archives, then there are a lot of projects that are happening these days. So like the one of the primary advantage of that is that making them accessible to researchers around the world. That is one possibility of this digital humanities. And that is about digital humanities. It supports data driven literary analysis. So instead of relying solely on close reading, scholars, they can use tools like text mining, topic modeling, and sentiment analysis. These are some of the tools that you can use in digital humanities to explore larger corpora of text, like thousands and thousands of text. So again, as I already mentioned, this uncovers patterns and connections across genres, time periods, or authors. So that's those insights that would be nearly impossible to identify manually. So that is one possibility of digital humanities. Then, of course, this particular field opens up new forms of storytelling. That is so interesting. It opens up new forms of storytelling as well as archiving. Think of interactive literary maps, then digital exhibitions, and again, annotated online editions of novels. All these are wonderful features that you find in digital humanities. So these aren't just aesthetic enhancements, they're scholarly contributions that reshape how we look into literature. So these are some of the terms, and you can look into other aspects as well.
Yeah, so today, Setu, I was teaching Indian literature. You're also teaching. We are all teaching Indian literature. So I was talking about the influence of Urdu on Indian literature in the 19th century. I'm not an expert in it, but I was saying there is so much to explore there. So many ways in which Urdu culture and Urdu philosophy inspired Indian literature. And then I told the students, I'm fascinated because using digital humanities, maybe you will be able to do text mining and look at the hundreds of texts out there, identify the Urdu words and Urdu concepts and Urdu ideas there, and make a massive archive and analyze these texts and come up with new ideas. And I was also thinking, like newspaper articles is something that we cannot easily access. But all newspapers are online, and war reports or, certain, thematic reports in newspapers, it is only through digital humanities that you can study it. How the language of these reports have evolved. For example, the war, take Iraq war or the war on terrorism or anything like that. At the beginning, when it happened, how the language of the text or how the language of the reports were, and how it evolved and developed into new areas, and the whole language changed, the discourse changed. We can prove in a research project if we use digital humanities with things that are physically impossible. Remember, Setu and Ankita, just a few years ago, or maybe 1 or 2 years ago, when we said many topics, people would say, or we would think, but how do we do it? It is not feasible. It is such a broad area, too many texts. Don't take 5 texts, it is too much to analyze. Now we are talking about thousands of texts in
Thousands
a
of
single
texts.
research project, let alone 5 texts. And also, this is somewhat like statistics. It involves a lot of science and maths and statistics, and of course, computers. It is like learning a new area altogether, but it is really worth it. Because for learning, also, I was thinking like not only for research, but even for everyday learning. In schools and colleges, digital humanities will become a commonplace thing because you
True.
can make digital maps and stories and whatever we thought of as mind maps and all in a huge scale we can do using digital humanities. Isn't it so amazing, Ankita? What do you think?
Yes, like, these days even people are doing researches on suicide letters of farmers. Or, there is a website, they have created a digital album on the colonial servants, I mean, the servants in colonial Bengal, how they used to dress, how they used to talk. So, this archiving system, especially in this 21st century when there is a great onslaught on knowledge is going on, I think this digital humanities is one such place which is democratizing learning, research, and knowledge. Because I read a very interesting article. There is a research scholar who has just finished her PhD from one of the universities in UK. So after her PhD was completed, the first thing that happened to her was that her email ID was taken away from her. And hence she lost all the subscriptions to all the journals and everything. So she felt like, I don't really know what to feel right now. I mean, is it happiness that I am finally doctor, or is it sadness that I have lost access to all knowledge? I have contributed to knowledge, but now I have lost access to all knowledge. So I think these are the stakes that digital humanities are standing for right now. Because yes, these journals and everything are very expensive these days. We need to pay for everything. But somehow still there are websites, many websites, I can't take name of those, but still I think they're trying to provide us with free books and journals and lectures. There are many YouTube channels which are providing free lectures of many scholars. So I think digital humanities, this is also stake here, that how even in this era where knowledge is at stake, where knowledge production, where free speech, free expression is at stake, how this digitization has helped us not only in the contribution of knowledge, but also continuous access to it, where access to knowledge is threatened every day. So I think this is a big thing.
Absolutely. Many, students or scholars who are listening to us might be wondering, okay, all these are fancy ideas, but how do I do it? Okay, people are getting access. It is democratized, but how does it really help me? How can I do a research project on digital humanities? That I don't understand. Already, people are overburdened with so much studying, and now to study digital technology also seems like impossible. But let me tell you one thing, do not jump into a big digital humanities project in the first place. You can do an open course, or you can read more about it. You can download some tools or access some tools, start using it. Even for an ordinary researcher, using these tools will help in a big way, because we will learn to analyze text more efficiently using these tools. So find out an area where you can really, work and learn more and use those tools. And especially those who have passed GATE, get into IITs and NITs. That is the place where a lot of research in digital humanities is happening in the country. And that can immensely open up the doors to you, give you a lot of exposure. And you might end up doing big research projects even. There are research projects for institutions and also small individualized projects also. I think with this, we should come to the key research areas, Setu, or how digital humanities is relevant to English studies. Would you like to talk about it, Setu?
Yes. So again, as Ankita was saying, we were discussing about how these rare manuscripts, regional literatures, and oral histories, they are preserved and made globally accessible. How these public, they engaged with this rare archives or rare manuscripts and digital humanities. Again, that is a characteristic feature of digital humanities. Then, of course, we need to talk about computational linguistics here. Computational linguistics, that is again one offshoot of digital humanities that focuses on language at a deeper level. So linguistics scholars who are working on looking into this language at a deeper level, they can work on these projects. So here again, by applying these scientific aspects, by applying algorithms, scholars, they can study sentence structures, stylistic shifts that's been happening over the years, or linguistic fingerprints unique to an author. That is again one of the advantage of these digital tools. So that also largely attribute to the authorship, or again about detecting various literary forgeries. So again, when I saw when Ankita was talking about this project, I was also thinking about an article about how, in order to understand, in order to analyze literary forgeries that were happening, there was this one research scholar who were working on this literary forgeries. So for that also you can use digital humanities. Then again, about digital editions and critical editions, again, that takes this traditional edition into the digital realm. They include hyperlinks, then of course multimedia annotations, and multiple textual versions of various text, allowing readers to explore context, then commentary and interpretation in an interactive way. So
I have
visualization.
a very naughty idea, Sedu. Somebody can do a digital humanities project on all the celebrity authors these days. You know, all the celebrity authors, do a digital humanities project and find out how much of it is really written by them and how much is forgery. How is the idea?
So good.
That is amazing. So
Wonderful.
all these research areas are there, guys. Think about computational linguistics. You know that we have an MOU with Garden City University. They are having an excellent BA program where there is a combined BA English with computational linguistics. And they also have some projects running from multinational companies in the university where students are getting to work. So if anybody is going into BA right now, this is the right time to think about whether you want to be a computational linguist. Linguistics is an area that is deeply interconnected with digital humanities, and it has so much scope abroad. It is a burgeoning area, applied linguistics, and it is in relation to business studies and the media and everything. So I think it's a wonderful area to explore. What do you say?
Yes, ma'am. Especially these language scholars, as we already discussed about these forgeries, that will really help in understanding about this the signature of a signature style of an author when we look into these archives and when we look into these editions. Or
I have heard of a term called stylometry, where you study the linguistics of written language and understand. There are so many such niche branches, within digital humanities that are worthy of inquiry. Do you have to contribute more to these key areas? Anybody?
let's
I was talking about digital editions in my lecture at VIT. Digital editions are done using markup languages, which is something that any researcher can do. HTML, XML, and TEI. TEI is Text Encoding Initiative. You can identify certain keywords within the text and analyze the text accordingly. There are very easy tools for that. I think we have some tools mentioned in our presentation itself. It is worthy of taking a look at it and learning some of it, because it can really help us in our everyday day-to-day learning also. So digital humanities is an amazing area with a lot of interdisciplinary connections: gender, game studies, cultural studies. Ankita or Setu, would you like to contribute?
Yes, I will talk in. Please continue. Yeah.
no, you can continue. Yeah.
I will talk about cyber ethnography. I mean, digital ethnography in the portion of cultural studies. So then I will talk.
Right. When you come to culture studies. Okay, Setu, please discuss gender studies then.
So these digital archives, they have become essential in preserving and amplifying historically marginalized voices, especially those of women, LGBTIQ plus individuals, and other underrepresented groups. And these platforms, these digital archives, they don't just store text, they give visibility to experiences. That is again an interesting area to explore, because that's where largely excluded from the literary canon. So again, then like as ma'am discussed about computational analysis, through computational analysis, again, we can detect gender biases in both classic and contemporary literature. That is one way of looking into these text. For example, we can analyze how male and female characters, they are described in a text. That is one way of analyzing how they were described throughout.
Discriminated also.
Yeah. Silenced, described, and of course certain verbs, they are associated with certain, these genders.
Yeah.
Then, or how often, what context women speak in a novel. So all these are important features that you can look into through these digital tools. Then of course this again, feminist digital humanities, that goes a further step by asking critical questions about the technologies themselves. Are the tools we use are neutral? For example, again, we have discussions about Alexa and Siri, how they use these voices. So again, are they embedded with biases, exclusions, or assumptions? So we can look into these areas through these digital tools. There are
Wow.
writers' projects. That is again one digital humanities project that's been happening, that digitally recovers early women's writing, offering searchable editions of text that were once inaccessible. So
now, as you were speaking, Setu, I was wondering if we could do something like, from our own perspectives, a lot of women, grandmothers or old women, etc., their oral narratives. There may be libraries, where all these can be accessed. A lot of things that we don't know are there in these digital libraries. Especially if you do something related to Europe or America, you will definitely get material. Otherwise, we should, search the libraries of India, or we can, the whole project can be building an archive. Building an archive that doesn't
Stanford
exist
runs
can
a
be.
huge partition archive. Stanford University runs a huge partition archive where exactly, oral narratives of women who were raped, who were abducted, and whose families were killed. Their oral narratives are there in the Stanford archive of partition. So, and
Wonderful.
every year, Stanford offers a course, an online course from this partition archive. It is very interesting and very important. And there you will get to see many audio, not videos, then oral narratives, many pictures and everything. So Stanford, it runs a very successful online course on partition archive.
What a wonderful piece of information. So I think we just have to sit down and search where are the digital archives that we can access. I have heard of the ProQuest, the amazing platform where thousands and thousands of digital material is available. Many institutes have an institutional membership with ProQuest. So it is not impossible to access all this. It's an amazing opportunity within gender studies, isn't it? Right. So, like gender studies, we have game studies next. Everybody these days, the youngsters, they're all interested. My own son is specializing in games and game production and all that. So, game studies and its possibilities with digital humanities. Setu?
yeah, so again, here we can approach video games as literary text by analyzing their narrative structures, including their plots, character development in video games. That is again another interesting feature. Then, and thematic elements in these games. So many contemporary games and many contemporary video games, they feature rich, multi-layered characters or multi-layered storytelling that parallels often challenges and traditional narrative forms found in literature. And again, we can also use this critical theory in order to study the agency of the player and identity and ethics of these players. So like we can ask questions like, how does this particular game let players make their choices?
Yeah.
How these players, they make their choices, and what moral or ethical dilemmas are built into this narrative. So all these can be looked into through these digital tools. And how do players, they construct their identity through avatars and again, interaction, because we ourselves, we create avatars or stickers. So that is also one way of looking into these video games or our own identity. So that is there.
And I'm also thinking about we could do a project on how many games bring in player agency. They give players control over the game by introducing alternate storylines, or, as Setu said, giving them more choice and options, enriching player experience in multiple ways. all that can be studied. It's amazing. Those who love games, please take a look at this and do some research on this. Lastly, Ankita, you wanted to speak about cultural studies. Please
Yes.
go ahead. What was that area you were talking about?
So there are two very important areas called digital ethnography and cyber culture studies. Okay, so what is digital ethnography? It is also called as virtual ethnography or netnography. So it's a qualitative research method which combines both traditional ethnographic techniques like participant observation, interviews, and immersion to digital environments. So both the traditional and the digital methods are combined to do this digital ethnography. And it involves studying online communities like Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, and social media platforms like this. The virtual worlds are studied through these methods, digital spaces where people come together, they exchange opinions and ideas, where they interact and communicate and build cultures and often fight also. So, digital ethnography brings together both the traditional and digital methods to study these online platforms. Especially very famous is Reddit. How people
Right.
fight among each other regarding why this person is not
Twitter
getting any more
also. Twitter.
chances. Yes.
Yes.
And
Uh, there is a Twitter archiving, and I have read about projects where people do research based on Twitter, and how some events have got into public memory and how they are represented in Twitter, how stories are shared. All these can be studied as well. Wow, that's so fascinating. And as I was reading up on culture studies and digital humanities, we already talk about space theories, Edward Soya and Andre Lefebvre, and I came across spatial humanities, where GIS technologies and the software is connected with space, how space is socially constructed, how space or geospatial technologies construct our identities, such aspects. It can be in relation to urban planning and development. It can be related to the spaces where people live, migration. It's fascinating how everything that we are familiar with is changing because of digital humanities. So
and
much,
yes,
so much.
a very interesting idea. I just came across it in the context of Pahalgam terror attack. I came across this idea of virtual mourning, like how various platforms, these platforms create a sense of solidarity among not only the victims but across the nation, like how people come together on various platforms to express their condolences. So this idea of the virtual mourning and melancholia, this is also very interesting, like how these virtual platforms are channeling their sense of loss and grief through these digital platforms like Facebook or Instagram or reels, the short reels that we see on Insta and YouTube. So it's a very interesting topic. Virtual mourning and melancholia and the sense of loss which haunts us. And Facebook always gives you memories that this happened 5 years ago with you. They will
Right.
never let you
Public memory
forget.
and private
Yes.
memory. This,
Yes.
yeah. Beautiful, how beautiful it is. And Setu, would you like to talk about fandoms? And you have also mentioned some other.
That is about global culture, and there are spaces for fan culture, and like we know how like these Harry Potter fans, and through, as Ankita was saying about these memories, and recently I came across this particular, when I shared this Harry Potter theme while I was in my school day, while like during my school days, and suddenly this memory popped up, and how through these hashtag, I was using a hashtag, so suddenly through these hashtag, how these online platform, they offer spaces for this collective memories, and of course about fan culture, about creativity. That is again another interesting aspect of this digital humanities, how we use hashtags, and how certain creativity, that is again a space for literary expression as well. So when we look into these archives of like some archives, we created these archives ourselves, and that is again part of this global cultural movement.
Amazing. Wow. What possibilities, yeah. And the tools and methods, Dekho, we are not experts on this. These are all digital tools, but anybody can Google and find out more. There are tutorials. If you are interested, we have just given a few sets of tools, softwares, and methods. Please look them up. Voyant tools, Gephi, Omega, TEI, distant reading versus close reading, metadata analysis. These are all pointers for all of you. And we also have given some new possibilities for research here, rethinking the concept of authorship and reader engagement, analyzing historical patterns in literature, studying gender, race, power dynamics using large data sets, not just one or two books, but thousands, building interactive literary maps and timelines. What possibilities! Oh my God, future directions. Please look up all this for yourselves. It is an amazing possibility that is there in store for you. Integration with AI and machine learning, greater focus on global works of literature in digital formats. The whole idea of global literature or world literature has now changed completely. Anything is accessible at our fingertips, isn't it so amazing? Hybrid methodologies, blending traditional and digital approaches. Do not stay traditional. Get up from your seats. Study digital humanities. We are all activists, digital humanities activists. Until next week, because next week we will bring another research area and we will start activism for that research area also. Isn't it? It was so good talking to both of you. This discussion was so productive. Wasn't it, Setu and Ankita?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for all insights. And Ankita, you opened up a lot of possibilities while discussing about like various archives and
Amazing. This girl is tremendously, resourceful. Ankita, we are proud of you. And Setu, thank you so much for this initiative. It is going to help thousands of people to find their research projects. Thank you very much, everyone, for being with us. Until next Tuesday, we'll come back with more research areas. But don't worry, Wednesday to Monday, Ankita will be doing her regular thing. Yeah? Okay, bye.
bye everyone. Good night.